So we've got a very interesting program over 10 days. Firstly, you arrive on the day before so that there's some time to settle in and get ready. We'll have some meet and greet exercises in the evening and an evening meal, and so you're ready for the first day. The first day we look at visions and dreams. What is it that you want in your relationship into the future? What's important to you? What are your values? So we're going to really do an intensive exploration of this, because if you don't know where you're going, then you're probably not going to get there. We're looking for what inspires you, and this is true for each person in the couple, because there might be some things in common and there might be some things differently, and we're going to explore that because that's the important basis of what it is that we're even doing here. The second day is about knowing yourself, and I use Gestalt therapy techniques and methods to help you understand more about yourself, to go deeper and to look at who you fundamentally are on a personality level, in terms of your preferences, in terms of your way of being in the world, and to understand how that comes into the couple's relationship, how that makes an impact, and what it is you fundamentally need for your own support and development. The next day we're going to look at the vexed question of what is love. It's a question that's been asked for a long time, and everybody has their own way to discover it. And, you know, love is the basis of relationship, hopefully. So what does love mean in practice? What does it mean in theory? What is it about? And how do each of us think about love? We're going to really explore that in a lot of different ways, and we're going to look at things like your love languages, what it means to you to give love, what kind of love you want to receive, and how do you go about communicating that. And also, how do you understand love in terms of your family and how you grew up and what love meant there, and is that the same kind of love that you want in your relationship? The next day, day 4, we're going to look at the question of family history, because when we're talking about couples and relationships and marriage and family, obviously an important element of that is how we grew up and what our parents' marriage was like and what sort of mistakes they made and what things they did right. That's all profoundly influencing us, and for those who live in an extended family with your in-laws or your parents, that still continues to be an influence. So this question of the family climate that you grew up in is an important one that we're going to explore. You know, what kind of legacy did you get from your family? Things that are limiting, things that are strengthening. How can you honor your past and use it to strengthen your current relationship? And we're also going to be using, as we are every day, different techniques to heal some of the traumas or the wounds that may be carried over from the past that get in the way of a really positive relationship. The next day, day 5, halfway through, we're looking at practical issues. Who takes care of business and who takes care of the kitchen? And in a modern marriage, you know, people have different kinds of arrangements. Sometimes it looks quite traditional. It might be a woman staying at home and she's the housewife and the man earns the money. But not necessarily. Sometimes it's even reversed and the man stays at home and takes care of the kids. These are all really important questions to consider in a happy relationship, and sometimes there's assumptions that go with our upbringing or our culture or our family traditions, and it's good to examine those assumptions, and it's good as a couple to be able to talk about those things. Sometimes they don't necessarily get addressed because they're just in the background, but one or both people may not even be happy with the arrangement and yet not know how to do things differently. So we're going to look at these issues, the role of men and women, and what kind of agreements do you want to base your relationship on, and what kind of changes might you want to make, or how do you see that evolving in the future. The next day, day 6, we're going to look at issues of dealing with conflict. So all relationships have some kind of conflict in them. Couples fight. The question is not how you can stop fighting, but how you can fight better, how you can fight in a way which is healthy and respectful and not damaging. And to do that, we look at what your conflict style is, we look at some of the research about conflict and what we can learn from it, and we look at some of the skills that you have in conflict as well as your particular conflict style. And we also introduce a number of different ways of skillfully dealing with conflict, very important. Now the next day, day 7, we're moving into intimacy, which of course is another essential element in a couple relationship to get right. And intimacy, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to each of you? What does it mean to you as a couple? And what kind of things do you do that reduce intimacy, and how can you enhance it? how do you deal with conflicting feelings around intimacy and different expectations, and how can you heal any wounds or obstacles that may be getting in your way of a really positive, healthy, nourishing intimacy relationship. We're also going to look at different kinds of intimacy: emotional intimacy, intimacy through touch. The next day we're going to go further into this topic, and we're going to look at the issue of sexuality, which is one expression of intimacy, and obviously a very important one in most couple relationships. So we're going to look at the integration of body, mind, soul on a sexual level. We're going to look at some of the do's and don'ts of a successful sex life, and we're going to look at the important issue of monogamy, faithfulness, and how difficult that is sometimes to keep, and what does it take to keep a sexual relationship true to each other and for both people to be satisfied. I'm also going to look at some new kinds of approaches to sexuality and connection. Maybe new for you, maybe familiar to you, but there's a lot of literature in the field and a lot of clinical experience I have about that, and I'm going to be looking at that with you. Day 9, the second last day, we're going to look at parenting, very important topic, and we're going to look at the research, how to build good brains, which is not just about study and homework, it's also about emotional input, emotional literacy, and the practice of empathy. So we're going to look at the relationship between parenting quality and emotional intelligence, and we're going to basically prepare you for the future. And it's a really big topic. I mean, all these topics are big topics, but we're hoping to give you a solid chunk that's going to be valuable for you into the future. The last day, day 10, we're going to put it all together. We're going to look at everything that we've covered. We're going to see what's unfinished. We're going to do some reflection. We're going to use lots of fun stuff to do this: drawing and creative media and movement and dance. And we're going to look at any intensive personal work that needs to be done, any intensive work with you as a couple, and we're going to be using the synergy of the group for transformation and completion. Finally, day 11, say goodbye, some processes in the morning to complete, and then you're off. You can go back home or you can hang about the area. There's lots of great things to see and do in Australia and the Northern Rivers Beaches region, as it's called. All in all, we're hoping to give you an experience that you'll never forget, and that you're going to treasure, and is going to help nourish and create a fantastic relationship for you into the future.